Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs and Leaders, and today we're covering a topic, 5 steps to forgiveness. And we have a special guest, Richard. Richard, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Richard Mull. I direct a ministry called Operation Light Force, and we are multifaceted. One of the things that I do a lot of now is I'm helping other authors write their books, do their online courses. We have a podcast called Mull It Over, and equip people on walking in healing and freedom, hearing God's voice. And yeah, there's a lot that we do. I've written a lot of books and helping a lot of people write their books.
That's fantastic. And then, Richard, so let's talk about forgiveness. Then, why? What is important for the people out there to get to that state that they forgive and then let go bad experiences?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I believe, first of all, it's the foundation of walking in healing, wholeness, is dealing with all that stuff. People, we've all been hurt. All of us have had our heart broken in various ways. And a lot of times we are dragging that stuff into our present from the past. And it affects us mentally, physically, physiologically. It does damage to our body. A lot of illnesses are rooted in unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment. We even know what that feels like. If you just say the word bitterness, there's a feeling in your body.
Yeah.
And sometimes all you have to do is mention that one person, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, knot turns in your stomach. And I know even as an author, there was some guys that stole one of my books. It just happened to one of the authors I'm helping right now. And driving through the city where those guys lived used to make me feel almost sick. And here I was helping other people get free, going, oh, I have to do it myself. I have to forgive these people. And people that we had shaken hands, they had a first copy and they stole one of my books. But I am telling you what, the freedom that comes when we walk that out. So the first thing we have to do is get real. We can't just pretend like nothing happened. Let's just ignore it. Sometimes we stuff our feelings, we stuff our emotions, and we try to ignore them, deny that they exist. But a lot of times the first step to forgiveness is acknowledging, wow, somebody did something wrong. Somebody did something that hurt me. And I recognizing it is a powerful first step. The next thing is a lot of times we have to be willing to forgive. So sometimes we need help. I know I tell people, ask God to help you. If you're going, there's no way I can forgive that person, because there's a lot of people that if you name the right person, or you talk about their ex-spouse or former business partner or whoever it is, they're like, there's no way I'll ever forgive that person. And it is tormenting them. So sometimes we need help, and asking help for God, asking someone else to help me. We help people process through their forgiveness. And usually the people that they say, there's no way I'll ever forgive, once they do that, they find an incredible amount of freedom. The next is saying, to the best of my ability, I choose to forgive this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting specific about the things that happen. I forgive them for this. I forgive them. And for some people, maybe a parent or an ex-spouse, there's a long list, and it takes time. And sometimes we do the best we can do today, but tomorrow there's something else that we remember. Do it again. Forgive them until there's no pain, that you can mention their name and it doesn't make your stomach churn. One of the things that I found that is so powerful, a lot of people struggle with this, but for me, it was the most freeing thing in the world. When I learned to bless those who curse me, it's something that Jesus said to do. And first time that I read that, I saw it, and I knew God was telling me to do that. I was like, no way. What these guys did was so wrong. What this person did was so wrong. Now I do that quickly. Whenever someone does something to offend me, I go through the steps of forgiveness, because the peace that I feel in my heart, the joy, the freedom, they can't steal a night's sleep from me. When I forgive and I bless the people that have done me wrong, I go to sleep with peace in my heart, joy, and because we've all experienced that, where somebody does something, and I'm telling you what, for days, where it's stewing inside. Eventually, we could still hold on to that and we begin to function, but it's still eating us up. And when we can get rid of that stuff, it is, it's like someone has said, bitterness is like pouring a glass of poison for another person and drinking it ourselves, because the other person isn't affected by our bitterness. It's the person that it's tormenting and that it's killing is us.
Exactly. And don't do it for them, do it for you. Correct?
That's right. I have to admit that it's selfish. Well, first of all, because God said so, and
we
that's
all
like
have been there. We all have been there. And once we realize that we had to be present, that okay, if someone did something that hurt us, correct? We, regardless that we think, okay, that is not your fault, that is the fault of the other person, we get very easy into the state of negativity, into a state of bitterness. And this emotional pain can lead to physical pain. And I know that this bitterness can get you into cancer, can get you into a physical illness, because in this state of mind. And I always have this thing like my message to people is, do it for them, don't do it do it for you, don't do it for them. Because the more that you forgive, the more that you let go, the better it's gonna be for you. That makes sense?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that we have to work on ourselves and see how our brain works, because we are human beings that usually we bring the past to the present. And then it's something, let's say, for example, if you open a business and that business fail, then you already make an assumption, oh, going into business is bad, and then you bringing back the past all the time, and that past is not your present. Okay, yeah, in the particular time that you open the business failed, but you can open another one and succeed. But it's difficult for people out there to disattach from the past. Why do you think that it's so that hard to the people disattach to the past and continue bringing it to the present?
Yeah, it is. It's so vital to deal with those things from the past, whether it's childhood or whether it's past business things. And a lot of times, people are trying to fix something that was broken a long time ago, rather than move past it, rather than get free of it. And it affects them. It affects their relationships. Something that we deal with on a pretty consistent basis. I minister to a lot of women and men, but one of the normal questions I'll ask is, finish this sentence. Men are. And it is, because basically what I'm about to uncover is a whole world of hurt and pain. And they're like,
absolutely,
they're da 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 da, and we've had a good rapport. Some of them have been people that I know, and they're looking at me going, "Oh, I'm not saying you." And my sentence was broad, it was open ended, but they're carrying that bitterness into the next relationship and the next relationship. Same with men. I asked men, women are. There was a business woman one time, and I won't mention the business, but it was women empowering women was the business. And I asked this woman, I said, finish the sentence, women are. And she goes, they're catty, vindictive, gossips, da 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 da. And I was like, She was at a very high level in this business, but had a ceiling she was hitting. She couldn't go past that.
Mhm.
And she was like, I don't have any friends in this industry. And I was like, the whole industry and women, it's built upon relationships and friendships, and you don't have any. And I knew that it was those judgments. And when she finished this list of issues with women, she was like, wow, that feels so good to get that off my chest. And I was like, do you see how that might affect your ability? And
Mhm.
she was like, oh, you think that might stop things? And I was like, I can't imagine you don't see how it would. And today she has broken through that glass ceiling, and she has a lot of women that are friends, and it transformed her life. Just dealing with all the hurts that she was carrying from really many times. It's just a handful of people. It's not all, but those handful that hurt us put glasses over our eyes, making it hard for us to see other people the way that they really are.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I think that the most difficult thing that we face out there is that you say, oh, this person did this something wrong, is their fault, is not my fault, and that's why I'm gonna be angry for 20 years, for 30 years, and it's their fault. And I think conflict happens when two people at the same time they're thinking that what is unfair with the other. If if
Mhm.
if, if this is not happening, this is not a conflict.
Mhm.
And so in the same way that you've seen that you've been unfair with the other person, that the other person has been unfair with you, maybe the other person is thinking the same thing about you, and this is where the conflict start. Now, you cannot control the other person, but what you can do is yourself, because if you decide to forgive and to let go, even if the other person is thinking that that is your fault, that this thing happened, and that's why we have the breakdown, but you surrender and you let that go, number one, is going to be very good for you. Number two, you might be able to recoup the relationship. I remember one with my dad once we have a big disagreement, and we were stuck there, and we have this constant argument all the time, and we both were fighting who wants to be right and who was right about the situation. And the thing was taking like a week, like 2 weeks, and I realized that I prefer to be wrong and have my dad,
Mm.
that rather to be right and don't have my dad.
Yeah.
So I let that go. I said one day, Dad, you know what? You're right. You're right, 100%. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. This is all my responsibility. And exactly how you think that the thing should be, you're right, 100%. And I'm sorry, and let's move on. And that was one of the greatest things that I've done in my life, because
Mm.
my dad now is like my brother. I don't even remember the issue anymore. I'm telling you about the issue. Tell me what was the issue. I badly remember. I just
Yeah.
remember that day I took the decision, like, hey, if I don't work on this is gonna keep escalating, and you find this relationship like parent and son. They don't talk for 20 years, and they don't even remember why they stopped talking on the first place. And if the other person cannot surrender and want to be right, that's okay.
Yeah.
You have to be bigger than that, and do it for you, and especially if there is a relationship that is important for you, because the relationship my dad is really important for me, and obviously for him. So I think that how we deal with things and how we conduct ourselves in this, we can create a lot of good things for people if we take responsibility, take in charge, and if us who have to surrender, because we are very good at being right, and we are very good at and it's your fault, it's not mine. And coming from that space, a lot of conflict can rise, conflict in your family, conflict in your business, conflict in your communities, and sometimes it's not worth it
That's right.
because that bitterness can get you sick, can get your dad sick, can get yourself sick, can this my emotion, mentally emotional baggage can translate in a physical pain. You can end up with cancer, with this and that. So a lot of and I think that the hardest thing is for us to take responsibility, for us to let that go, and for us to be the person that surrender out of the
Mm.
whole conflict and move on, because it's more important the relationship that actually being right on the conflict in the first place.
Yep.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep. Talks about in the Bible that God's going to turn the hearts of the fathers back to the children, hearts of the children back to the fathers, and it's going to result in a blessing. And I've seen what your story is powerful and amazing, and I've gotten to witness that numerous times when someone just lets go of the bitterness and the walls, and many times they've kept blessings away from themselves, like parents that want to bless their children,
Mhm.
but there's the walls there. They won't receive the blessings, and gonna make it on my own, and those walls, and when those walls come down, it is amazing. And the healing of relationships, the healing of our bodies,
Yeah,
minds.
exactly. You hit the relationship, you hit your body, you hit your mind, and new uh, paradigm and opportunity, and you can raise after you let go of this conflict. So, Richard, which message do you have for people out there, for parents, for mom and dad, or son and dad, that they're not talking to each other, or family members that they're not talking among themselves for 10, 15 years? Which message do you have for these people?
Oh, it is amazing, the getting over that fear, the fear of reconnecting, the fear of letting go of the bitterness. And like many people can hardly remember what it is, or the things that they're holding on to are are nothing anymore. I knew a man, he would former FBI, air marshal at this point in his life, and hadn't seen his dad 3 times in 30 years.
Wow.
And he said, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't think he ever wants to see me. Da, 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 da. And all I said was, I don't believe that. And he's like, no, no,
Pain
really.
for 30 years is a lot of accumulating pain, correct?
Right. Yeah. And he goes, no, really. It what doesn't matter. I said, and so I said, what was this? And he goes, and this guy who was a friend of mine, he starts cursing at me. What are you doing to me? And he starts crying. His wife's never seen him cry. And I said all of like 6 or 8 words, you know, I don't believe that your lack of relationship with your dad is insignificant. And I asked, what is this? Because I could see just challenging that had touched something inside him. And then he was mad at me, and he knew that I got to deal with this,
Mhm.
and dealt with the bitterness and forgiveness. And God did some amazing things in his life. And then he was like, we're talking a guy who could take people down in a plane, and
Wow.
and a former agent. And he was like, um, I want to reconnect with my dad, but I don't, I'm afraid to make that phone call. And I'm like, afraid to make a phone call.
Wow.
His wife, who was all of 110 pounds, I think, made the call, talked to the stepmom, who, and they arranged it. And he found out that there was nothing his dad wanted more than to see him after all those years, which made him cry again. He got to where he was thanking me for crying, because all these amazing things were happening in his life. And after they connected, it felt a little awkward. Neither one knew what to say. Men sometimes we can struggle
Mhm.
with awkward moments. So he's struggling through that. But they had a great evening together. The next day, his dad called him before he got on his plane, said, I just wanted to check on you and let you know I was thinking about you. And I mean, I could tell those stories all day, because when people deal with those walls that they have put up, I know young people now that have cut off their families, and their families love and care for them, have the resources to get them a car, get them what they need, and they're struggling to make it on their own, holding on to resentment and bitterness over things that make no sense whatsoever. Now, in their minds, they're huge. They're a big deal.
Mhm.
And I get that. And I don't challenge that, because what you want to deal with is the pain, the hurt, and the lies. There's often lies attached to all of that. So
No, but also our minds, our minds is great. They're great creating stories. And
yep.
one thing is what actually happened, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is the story that we make and we build about what actually happened. Like
Yeah.
that is completely out of reality, out of the real facts. And sometimes when we deal with conflicts, I think that this is the first step that we have to analyze what actually happened. Know what the story that you make about what actually happened is what actually happened. And the issues with that is that sometimes is have been so long that they don't even remember with clarity what actually happened. What is the issue with in the first step that started the conflict. And with people that with relationship with mom and father and son and father, the size of the conflict is no bigger than the reason that you've been here. Because
Mm-hmm.
without your dad and your mom, you won't be here. So you won't have the conflict in the first place, because you won't be around. And at least for that, we have to be grateful to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
very easy to blame my father and my dad. I'm not successful because of my dad. I'm not successful because of my mom. And they raised me this way, and that's why I'm that way. And you have to let that go, because uh, this is not true. This you are using this as excuse to cover your where you want to go in life, and when you drop that, you will realize that they're really powerful. And we have interviewed, we have a projecting to interview with 5,000 uh, multi-billionaires, and we find them for different backgrounds. Some of them they were rich, some of them they were poor, some of them they were homeless, some of them were, and they all make it. So it's
Mm.
not your dad or your mom. Some of them they didn't have mom and dad, and still they make it. So it's all about taking responsibility, and the only person that is responsible for your change is yourself, and the other person that is responsible to reconnect with your dad, your mom, your brother is you, not nobody else. And again, do you prefer to be right, or you prefer to have your brother? Do you prefer to be right, or you prefer to have your dad and your mom?
Mm-hmm.
And if when you look at that way, you will see it's no big deal. It's not a big deal, but sometimes our minds, our behavior, I think
Mm-hmm.
that there is a very good book. The name is The Chimp Paradox, right? That talk about how our monkey brain sometimes take charge of our human brain. So we have the analytical brain, the animal brain, okay? And sometimes we have to go back to our human brain and be rational and understand what is really important. And if we leave our survival brain, our monkey brain, to dominate the whole state of the relationship, I think this is what we have the huge breakdown. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I think that have been really, really interested, and for I wish you a lot of success. So where people can buy your books?
At operationlightforce.com, at richardmull.com, and on Amazon. And any of those places.
People can get your book. Excellent, Richard. Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you, Harry.
podcast.
Bless
Yeah,
you.
amazing. Yeah, keep doing what you do. I think that it's important that that keep working with the people out there to heal this negative emotional baggage that sometimes is so big and we are carrying around all their life. And you know what is sad? It's sad that people out there after 20 years or 30 years, they're carrying this negative baggage with them. And when they decide to reconnect, they will find out that now dad is dead or dad is not well and cannot even talk to you or things like that. So when you have time and nobody, and the only responsible for make that change is you. Yeah, you cannot say, oh, if he doesn't apologize to me, I will never talk to him. That this type of behavior is affecting you more to you than to the other person. And with that note, Richard, we're gonna end up the podcast. Thank you so much. And for all of you following this podcast, Entrepreneurs Are Leaders, see you in our next episode where we are interviewing amazing people like Richard, getting the best of the human beings. Bye for now.
Bless you.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.